Hi, it's Jasmin. You know, that girl who did you know what way before the internet ever existed. Join me and my special guest every week as we talk about anything and everything because nothing is too taboo. So punch your ticket and get on board the Krazy Train with me, Jasmin St. All aboard!
Welcome to a brand new episode of Krazy Train podcast. When you guys think of babes of the 90s and video vixens, there's only one blonde bombshell that comes to mind, and that is Bobbie Brown. I'm so honored to have you on my show, Bobbie. I grew up watching all of the best hair metal videos, and your face was always the common denominator. What was
Well,
it like doing that? How did you get into being in music videos back in that era?
that was the era of MTV. It was right before I moved to California. I graduated high school and went straight to LA. I got with an agency, and back then MTV was really all the rage. It was the only thing that was on our TVs at any given time. And I got with a modeling agent, and honestly, the first bookings I ever got were to do music videos. And I had, a California look at the time, or at the time still,
Yeah.
hello. And I just started booking music videos, and the music videos, some did well, some did, really well. And from the video, I think Star Search saw me and asked my agent, like, hey, does she want to be on Star Search? And I was like, sure, why not? And I just went in, and they were like, okay, cool, we'll hire you to be on the show. It was just like having a meeting, an audition. It's definitely, it was so much easier then to do an audition. You could just, go there, show up, meet the person. Now it's like a whole self-taping, dramatic lighting issues. It's just a whole new genre for me where I'm like, this is so much trouble for an audition. Like, wow.
It was the golden age of music videos, and with MTV now supposedly ending, it marks the end of a very important decade or decades of music, but you were there at the height of it. Now, getting back to Star Search, I didn't know about that. What
Oh,
did you do on Star Search? Because that's super. I remember the show. Very interesting, by the way.
so I did the spokesmodel portion of the show, and I won more times than any other person on that show in any category. However, I lost the 100 grand. I lost the final show. So I won 13 times in a row. They couldn't find anybody to compete with me who had won as many times. So they brought a girl back who had won the most times at her moment, which was 3, and brought her back to compete against me. But I feel like, I'm going to be honest, maybe some palms were massaged or something. Ended up winning the 100 grand, and I lost. But I was on TV for a whole year after that, reruns, and so it wasn't meant to be, obviously, but the publicity was next level. So Janie saw me from Star Search and hired me to do the Warrant video. So that's how he saw me originally, and called me in to meet to do that video.
It's a shame that auditions are no longer in person. I feel as though COVID played a huge role in that because after that, it was all self-tape. So then you don't
Yeah,
walk into the room and get to meet the casting agent. They don't get the natural, the actual authentic essence of you,
right,
when you walk in, what your physical presence is like.
right.
It's just very lost these days.
Sure.
You're right. It was way better back then. Now, going back further,
Mhm.
Miss Teen Louisiana. Please tell us about that. Whose idea was that? And is it really that rigorous, the pageants, or was it back then?
This is how it happened for me. I don't think it happens this way for other people because I feel like some people are really like all about the pageant life. Like, I
Mm.
know the girl who I grew up with had been in them since she was a child, and her mom was about that life, the dance life and the pageant life, and they had it all down to a T, and competed every year and was trying. And I remember I was walking through the mall, and this guy came up to me and was like, hey, I'm the director for Miss Teen Louisiana. Do you want to be in the pageant? You would be great to be in the pageant. And I was like, all right, maybe, I don't know. So I told my mom, and she was like, all right, let's try it. And I did not know what I was doing. These people were, they were seasoned, and I
Mm.
was they're like goofy, like just dorking out. Didn't know what was going on. Didn't have the right kind of dress. I thought whatever, and I ended up winning. And honestly, I think it's just because maybe I wasn't so polished. Maybe it was because I was just myself. Yeah, I didn't have like the P's and Q's, but it was a bit rigorous. We went to state. So I went to compete in Miss Teen USA as Louisiana. And it kind of was rigorous, but it was fun. I was like, what, 16? And I'd just gone to Texas for the first time. How crazy is that? I'm only a state away. And you're there for like a month and they're filming you. And then you have to learn like the opening dance number. And I ended up winning second in the top five. So, um, but yeah, those are the only two pageants I've ever been in.
Mhm.
And that's how that went.
That's so much fun. I mean, I think it doesn't look as much fun now
Yeah,
as what you're describing. I think back
right.
then people had more fun. Now it's just so competitive. Then you have the
Yeah,
stage mothers.
yeah.
Did you have any prior acting experience or did you do theater at any point?
No, I did. I wasn't a very good scholar. Like I didn't do well in school. I always kind of looked through magazines and was like, I would love to, I'd be practicing my poses in the mirror secretly. And someone told me once, and it was supposed to be an insult, but I took it a different way. Someone told me that the only thing I was good at was being pretty. And low key, I was a little insulted, but high key, I was like, all right, well, let me see what I can do with that. And so I kind of had a goal like, when I graduate, I'm going to move out to either New York or to LA. I'm going to send my pictures out first and see what happens. But how it happened was the top five of the teen pageant. My question was, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I say on a stage, I want to be a model. I want to, move to LA and be a model. And then people saw that and contacted my mom, and that's kind of how it went from there.
I'll be honest with you, when I started watching U68, it was a very popular heavy metal music station. I grew up listening to heavy metal. I'd see you all over the place. And from that moment on, I always wanted to be in a music video or be on the cover of like Heavy Metal magazine, which that did happen. But
Yeah,
music videos, when I was old enough to do them,
yeah,
just weren't the same. Did you like heavy metal as a fan prior to being in all these great videos?
I did. So I had like Quiet Riot posters up, I had Motley Crue posters up on my wall. I was into metal, and
Mm,
oddly enough, like, having a Tommy Lee poster on my wall turned out
yeah.
to be like, okay, that happened. But yeah, I did. I listened and I liked Adamant.
I
Adam
love Adam Ant. Oh my God, he was so hot. Yes. Still
Girl.
hot. Would.
So hot. So hot. Yeah,
Only would. I would. Yes.
right,
Yes.
right. So that, that was my scene. That was my vibe. And the guy who Billy Worth, who played the
Yes. Lost
vampire
Boys.
in the movie, that I was like, that guy's so fine. I'm gonna go out with that guy one day, and I did. Um,
Did you?
I did.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, he was just really beautiful. He was like one of those guys that you were like, what, just say less, but you're gorgeous, you know. But he's still beautiful. I mean, men age gracefully, so amazing, right?
Kind of like, I don't think any of my exes have aged gracefully, but that's probably why they're exes. Like, I'm the most shallow person when it comes to men, like within the past 10 years. Like,
Yeah,
if I see you getting out of shape, I will do the Pillsbury Doughboy thing, the hoo hoo. I'm pretty cruel like that, but it's okay. I'll just go out there and I'll find whatever it is I'm looking for. It's
right.
funny you mentioned Quiet Riot. So I had one of the mental health album covers. It was like a folder for
Yep,
school. I
yep.
ended up dating Kevin DeBro like years later. It was the weirdest thing.
So Robert looks so much like him, does he not?
Really?
His brother is,
Yes, the plastic surgeon. Yes, he
yes.
does.
I mean, maybe not
Yes.
because it looks like he's had also some work done, which is weird on guys, I think, personally.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, but when I met him for the first time, I was just sort of thinking to myself, like, you look so much like your brother.
What
Yeah.
was your impression of LA when you first got to Los Angeles?
It was the type of energy that I'd never really felt before because the South is just so slow. Everything's slow. Everybody talks slow. Everything, I'm like wanting someone to get to the punchline. I'm like, and they're like, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. So I kind of fit in to LA's pace really quickly because it was always kind of like my energy. Um,
Mhm.
I liked it. I used to say I always worked best under pressure. Like I'm productive like that. If I have too much time on my hands, then I feel like I get lazier. Like I like to be busy.
I think like you would have been very good in New York. That's where I grew up, so I
Really,
spent most of my time. Yes, I think you would have done very well with the pace. LA is fast, but people in LA, it's just like nowadays it's just so slow and so ba ba ba. Yo,
bougie.
man, chill. Yeah, it's like way too slow. I like going like that. Beat, beat,
Pe-
beat.
People used to ask me if I was from New York, and I was like, "I'm in the South." But I was also told to lose the accent, so I really worked hard at doing that. But I just think it was just my personality was kind of aggressive and was kind of very blunt and forward and brazen. Uh, like I said, the energy was always just a little fast paced. So yeah, I can see the New York thing for sure.
What were your thoughts on Tawny Katane? Because she was the only other video vixen in that era.
We had always been compared to each other, and we had actually never met. And then we were both asked to host M3 together one year. And that
Oh,
was actually the first time I had ever met her. I absolutely fell in love with her. We became fast friends. I ended up going to her place and we hung out for a day. We applied to be on like a reality show. What is it? So I can't even think, Survivor or something. I don't know. It was my agent's idea. I was like, I don't want to do this. Oh my gosh. But we were going to send an audition and together I was helping her try to write her book because mine had already come out. And we recorded some videos while I was there. She passed obviously way too early and
yeah.
quickly and surprisingly like soon thereafter, probably within a couple of years of us being friends. And I remember her having a very sweet naivete to her personality. Like she was a sweet little girl still in her inside of her spirit. Like her spirit was really still very, very sweet and precious and young and fun and lovable. Like she started doing like, handstands and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like she just was like a child in her heart, which I love.
Yeah, that's really a very special trait that you don't see nowadays in people. Videos back then versus now. Have you watched any type of music video in the recent years?
Yeah, I have. Like I remember I'm not as crude as I used to be. I mean, I remember when V1 came out and I was like, what kind of videos are these? I said, what are these, like burn victim hour or something? I said something so rude. And Taylor was like, God, mom, you're so mean. And I was like, well, what kind of, I think it was like a Maroon 5 video. And
Ill. Oh, well.
right. I was like, what is this? What are we watching here? And she was like, God, mom, you're so mean. It was just a total different vibe for sure.
Yeah, even concerts nowadays. So, two things I'm going to touch on. Obviously, the latter being the book, because I know that's going to get really good and juicy. What were your impressions on Janie when you met him?
He also had that same type of spirit, like a very sweet, humble person who was he was like this child who was in disbelief that he was doing what he was doing, like he was living his dream. And so incredibly gifted and talented and humble, even though he was famous. And you got to see a side of him when he was performing, obviously, because he was in performance mode. But when he wasn't on stage, anybody that had ever met him would ask, if you talk to them now, they were like, he was the nicest guy ever. He was the sweetest, kindest guy ever. When he wasn't drinking, obviously. But yeah, he is a sweetheart.
Were you on Metal Sludge website? Were you friends with Stevie Rochelle?
How funny this is. Yeah. So
I remember that site.
So the first time this comes out, someone's like, you're a screensaver for this new website. And I didn't know how to use a computer or anything at the time. And I see that it's me with two other girls on the website. And I messaged, I didn't know it was Stevie at the time. However, I know. So I send this like scathing message to whoever's running the site, like, why are you using my photo? Because, then they had like the groupie sludge or whatever. Where I think that's what my photo was used for, was the groupie page. And I was like, sent him this message. And then he said, I still don't know it's Stevie. When I reached out to Metal Sludge, I said all this stuff. And he said, well, will you do an interview for us? I still don't know it's him.
Are you looking for a safe way to bet online where there is something for everyone, including yourself? Then go to betonline.ag, where I am sure you will find something. Don't forget, it's betonline.ag for the most variety and the safest way to bet online. Nobody knew it was Stevie, by the way, for quite some time. I didn't even know. I just remember the website and seeing like you on.
Right.
Now we get down to Dirty Rocker Boys.
Okay.
What inspired you to write that book?
So I had been mentioned in so many of other people's memoirs, other rock books. And a lot of the time somebody would point that out. I would look it up and I'd be like, that didn't happen like that. Or that's BS. Or, wow, you really think that's how that went down? And I remember saying to myself, I'm like, you know what? A woman needs to write about this situation, this time in this era, fully honest, from the woman's perspective. Mm-hmm. And I vowed that I was going to be that girl. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be brutally honest, and I'm probably going to freak people out. And I did. But I mean, all the stuff I didn't say, like I said a lot, but yeah, not everybody was thrilled with that when that book came out. But yeah, I just thought, somebody needs to be honest, forthcoming with the truth from a woman's perspective in that time, because that was like a decadent era, that you can't recreate and probably never be the same.
No, it's like going back to the Rainbow Room right now, the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and think it would be the same as in 10, 15 years ago. And it's a total shithole now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So so exactly.
Well, what do you think is different about your perspective, aside from the fact that you're very down to earth and authentic, versus what was out there? Were guys missing certain things? Were some of these guys married? I mean, what was different about it?
Yes, a lot of people were married. That was a huge turnoff for me. I never liked cheaters. That was a red flag for me. Cheaters, I'm not about the cheater. I mean, that's why I got divorced. Never a fan of cheating. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was just like something that needed to be said from a woman's perspective, because I was seeing it from a different lens and the guys were seeing it totally different too. But I felt like I was just being honest, and I felt like they were saying what they think their fans wanted to hear. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Guys do that all the time. The first famous person I met in Los Angeles was Corey Feldman. Lost Boys. Once again, there's a Lost Boys connection.
Yeah.
So I went on Howard Stern about 2 weeks after I met him, and we were talking about something totally different. Then he asked me, oh, did you ever meet anyone famous in LA? Well, yeah, Corey Feldman. Did you hook up with him? Yes. How was he? He had a really small penis. I have to tell you, to this date, he will not let me live that down. It's like, dude, that was a 90 something. Like, who
Right.
cares? You have a small dick, like own up to it.
Right.
Um, Guys get really touchy about those things.
Yeah.
Uh, they really do. So
Yeah.
when you met Janie the very first time, would you say it was love at first sight, or what was that whole courtship like?
For me, I was dating Matthew Nelson at the time. And
Oh,
yes. And because he had come down to the Star Search set, the girl who did the wardrobe for Nelson was also the wardrobe lady for Star Search. And they came to the show, and that's where I met him, and he and I started dating. Um, then and they're actually competing in that moment in that same realm of music as Warren. And oddly enough, Janie goes on Howard Stern as well and says to Matthew, "Sorry, dude, I'm in love with Bobbie. I'm gonna marry her one day." All this stuff, and I was like, "Wow, okay," because nothing happened on the set at all. He sent me flowers. He was nothing but kind. He was, bowed down to whatever I needed. Was not inappropriate at all. Never came on to me. It was none of that when we were filming. And so for him to say that on the Howard Stern show, immediately Matthew thinks, obviously I did something. Obviously I was a cheater. Obviously something happened between us, because why would he be saying this and all this stuff? We had a terrible breakup. Um, he sent me home from Hawaii. Like, we went on a trip in Hawaii and sent me home by myself to move out of our house from Hawaii, from our vacation. And I was devastated. But I was still friends with all the girls who were married to the guys in Warrant. And I called Kathy, who was married to Joey Allen at the time, and I was like, "Matthew and I just broke up, and this is what happened." And I kid you not, in 4 minutes, Janie Lane called me. In 4 minutes, Janie Lane called me, and it was, it was on from there.
did you move in?
We did. We moved. So funny, I had my own apartment at this time. I'd moved out of Matthews, had my own apartment in Hollywood.
Okay.
And I remember, I think I went on a job for something. Janie and I were dating, and I went for a job. He and my agent he moved me into his house while I was doing a job. So when I came back and he picked me up at the airport, I was basically living at his house. And I was like, okay, all right. He just, he saw what he wanted, and he wasn't giving up on that. And we were engaged, gosh, within 6 months of us even being together, we were engaged. And then soon thereafter, I became pregnant. So we had to move the wedding date up sooner. But yeah. And we still have a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous daughter together.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
was hoping that when I asked you if you moved in, that it was right away. Like, as soon as he found out that you're kicked out of the house, yep, come on over, just bring all your stuff. But I
Literally,
guess,
I didn't even have to do it. I didn't even have to. It was his idea. It's not crazy. Yeah.
but that's so refreshing because guys nowadays, even grown men, play these ridiculous games. And I feel as though the internet has a lot to do with it, because you could just go online and meet someone else. And it just gone are the great days of meeting someone face to face and going through this whole courtship.
Right.
Uh, it seems like he meant a lot to you. And when the ending was near, how did that feel? Was it like this big tumultuous change in your life, or was it something you saw coming at some point?
It was something I never realized in the moment. Like, I thought all rock stars, like, got drunk and drank, did what they did. And that was just the MO. I never in that moment realized that he had a problem,
Mm.
you know? And I also didn't know that when he was, like, on the road, he was cheating. And I found out when I was pregnant that he was cheating. And I tried to stay. I tried to make it work. I really did. I was with him until Taylor was one. But the cheating never stopped and the drinking got worse. And I just couldn't, I don't know. I was just like, I can't be with somebody that's never going to be, treat me with respect. And never, and people are like, didn't you see that coming? Like, you were dating a rock star. That's what their MO. Like, you should have seen that coming. And I was like, I honestly didn't, because I really thought I was a catch. I was a good woman. I was a good wife. I loved him dearly. I was carrying his child. I would never cheat in a million years. That was never who I was. And I was always very vocal about that. Um,
Hmm.
and so for people to say like, well, that just goes with the territory. And I was like, it doesn't have to, it just doesn't have to. But clearly it did. And I think my choices just got worse after that. The trust kind of gets broken.
Hmm.
Your picker's kind of off. You don't know who's gaslighting you, who's blowing you up, who's for real. I'm getting hit on from every person in the blue. When Janie and I split up, every other rock person came into the picture, trying to hit me up to date me or whatever. And Tommy pressed the hardest. I mean, he love bombed me. I would say that. Like, now, wasn't a term for it then, but oh my gosh, like, couldn't walk through my house without like winding through roses and flowers and gifts and just calling me nonstop. He just was relentless with the pursuit. And so we ended up getting engaged and then separating, and the story. So yeah,
Yeah.
and then my choices just kept getting worse. Then my choices just kept getting worse, and then I had like serious trust issues and went through a phase where I wanted to treat men how I had been treated. And I wrote
Hmm.
about that in the book. It did nothing for my spirit. Obviously, it just made me feel worse. But in the time, I was like so bitter and mad and over how guys treated women. And so I would intentionally take a man home, use them, and treat them poorly, kick them out, and never act like I ever knew who they were after that. I treated them very poorly. It did nothing for my soul at all. Did nothing for the sake of my own heart. It didn't fill me with the joy I thought it might, but it didn't. Kind of, I was taking my aggressions out on men in the way that I felt like we had been treated, or I had been treated, or women in general.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair to say. That's a shame. And you're very young at that time too. So at that age, when things like this happen, such as this whole broken trust,
yeah,
it's a major part of your life much later on. And I don't think people understand, like during these formative years, it did take so much of where we're going to end up in life.
yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing you learned. Um, the whole Tommy Lee thing seemed pretty wild, by the way. And I met him a few times in my life. I know the last time I'd met him, it was in Vegas, and it was something to do with Vince Neil. It was just a horrible, just this
I
real
can,
horrible thing,
I
like being threatened by Vince's security guard because I didn't recognize him. It was at the Hard Rock Cafe. I'm like, okay, well, he just looks like a bloated, like Monchichi. I have no fucking clue who this is.
right.
So Tommy ended up rescuing me and my friend from this whole whatever you want to call it debacle. But
Yeah,
it was interesting to say the least. Did you ever hang out at the Rainbow Bar and Grill?
yeah, I did. Back when it was cool. I
Yeah.
totally did. Yeah. I mean, you would go in and all the guys from GNR would be at the back table. It was it was a precious time that will never be the same. Like, you would see
Hmm.
everybody who was like having number one hits, just sitting there eating pizza or doing whatever they were doing, or doing lines in the bathroom, or it was a crazy time. It really was, but it was so fun and carefree, and like I just remember feeling like there weren't consequences. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You just kind of moved through the scene and never really thought about the consequences. And afterward, you're like, oh, okay, well, that happened. But that we survived. We're here to talk about it still.
Well, did you ever go to the loft inside of the Rainbow?
Yes. Yeah.
I had no idea people were doing so much coke up there, like Scarface amounts of blow.
Yes.
Unreal.
Yeah. I was one of those
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was doing Scarface amounts of cocaine for sure.
I was up there with the Lizzie Borden guys. I think it was New Year's Eve one year, and that's what was going on. Not
Yeah.
that I don't think I snitched on anyone. I mean, this is what people do. Did
Yeah.
you have any very memorable moments at the Rainbow Bar and Grill or anything that really sticks out to you?
No, because it was so common, honestly. I mean, I shot a reality show called Ex-Wives of Brock, and I remember we
Yeah.
celebrated my birthday in the loft, that club, and we filmed there. But it was like such a sad, depressing episode because here I am talking about this loser who was treating me like crap, total crap, and my bar was for someone to be nice to me. That was pretty bad. Um, that was like an all-time low. So that's the only thing I remember. Like I don't have a moment where I was like, it was so crazy, it was so fun. It was like that almost every night you went out in LA. It was so crazy, it was so fun. Like just doing that, and living kind of by the seat of your pants. Like I said, no consequences. Like, hey, do you want to take a 2-seater plane to Sacramento tomorrow to do a photo shoot? Sure. Let's do it. Like, what's the harm in it? Oh, well, I could kill you. I don't know how to fly a plane. You don't think of all the stuff like, you're just like, yeah, let's do this. And it's crazy, that I live to tell the stories another day. Thank God.
I don't think people would be getting into someone's private jet that quick these days, but yet we will call a total stranger to give us a ride in their car somewhere and
Right.
not know much about them, right? Like
Right.
that's where we are.
Yeah.
But you're right. There were no consequences back then, and everyone was doing something crazy
Yes.
all over the place. Was there anyone you always wanted to meet? Like, did you have an idol that you finally met once you came out to the Los Angeles area?
Raquel Welch.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was going to agree to do a Playboy layout. I ended up not doing it because my husband asked me not to because he didn't want the world to see me naked. And I get it.
Hmm.
She was in a movie and I used to think her beauty was so just amazing. And she was in this movie and I don't remember the name of the movie, but we were going to shoot the photos kind of like her scenes in the movie. And I always just gravitize towards beautiful brunettes like yourself and her and, Christy Turlington and everyone who that was just so beautiful. Anyway, so I got to meet her and I kind of geeked out. Like I don't geek out, and if I'm geeking out, I'm usually keeping it under wraps. I've geeked out twice. Once with her and when I met Brandon Boyd, I geeked out big time because I like a nerdy, hot musician back
Hmm.
then. And I met him and I was embarrassed myself horribly. Like I did crazy stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's permissible.
Yeah. Yeah. He was trying to pull his shirt down and get away from me basically. And I was just like, ah, um, yeah. So that was embarrassing, but he was absolutely beautiful.
I'm obsessed by Billy Worth, by the way. But I met Raquel once. I have her signed Playboy from a while back. My really good friend was making clothing for her.
Wow.
And yeah, this was, God, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
She sews for Kiss now. She makes like all of Gene Simmons things, but it's such a small world. And I'm sure that I've run into you before because I've been in the Rainbow like a shit ton of times when it was the hot place to be. Quick question, the reality show, and I'm like not a big fan of like Real Hollywood House, whatever you call it, Real Holly Horror, whatever I call it.
Yeah.
Those girls.
Yeah.
What was your experience working on a show with these other ex-wives? Did you even get along with them? Because
Yes.
they're so cool. I just can't see it. Okay, so you
Yeah.
did.
So Lorraine Lewis came to me with the idea and thought that I would be perfect for the show. And she's like, do you have any other friends who are married or were married to rock stars that you're still friends with? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I have Athena, I have Charisse, I have like I named the people and they kind of contacted them and we shot a sizzle reel for it and it ended up getting picked up in Canada. And
Oh,
I have to say, it was the best job I've ever had in my life. It was non-scripted. We had so much drama going on all the time anyway. Every day, just between us, but we had always carried on a camaraderie throughout the years. Like for us to do a show together, it was like being paid to be yourself, to hang out with your friends. That was
okay.
that was the best job I've ever had. Honestly, I would do a reunion show tomorrow. It was that fun.
That's awesome. And I think because we see like Hollywood House, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah,
um, the
that's
Swedish ones, I used to call it Svenska Hollywood Household, which is Swedish Hollywood Househorse. So it's what it means in Swedish. Um, my friend produced those shows, but it just seems so tedious. But you and like Charisse and all of them, that must have been the coolest time.
yeah.
Would you ever marry or date a rock star ever again?
10 years ago, I said I'm not picking anymore because my picker's broken. If I think you're hot, there definitely has to be a red flag. If I'm attracted to you, there must be a million things wrong with you. So if I'm attracted to you, then you're definitely not good for me. So I decided to stop choosing, and I haven't dated in 10 years. And
Oh.
like, I feel like I got on the app, like an app once. And after one day, I was so like PTSD from it, like just being like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Like it was so weird, awkward. I just felt overwhelmed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know it just felt off. It felt off. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Lord, if you want me to have a man in my life, you are going to have to bring him to the front door because I'm not going to pick and I can't do this online thing. I just can't. So the last boyfriend was through a dating app and that went terribly as it plays out on the show, which I would never rewatch in a million years because it's so embarrassing. But yeah, he was like 16 years younger than me, and my daughter was like, "You cannot date anybody closer in my age than they are to you, Mom." That is so embarrassing. I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's pretty bad." So that's a promise I've made her. I'm
Funny.
not doing that.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I just think
I
it's
don't,
so.
no, it's fine. I
Well, no, I've done the apps before. I get overwhelmed. Then I joined Bond Dating. So that's where the guys pay to join. I have to tell you, like they have a personal matchmaker. Everyone has given off American Psycho vibes.
right. Like I remember one of the messages like, "Hey, can we meet up? Promise not to kill you." And I was like, "Okay, well, I wasn't even thinking about you thinking about killing me, but now that you mention it, what? Like, okay, no." And when I started to do stand-up comedy, it was really based about everything I didn't know about dating in that current time frame, which was probably right before COVID. I was doing stand-up comedy
Yeah.
for about a good year, I think. And my entire sets revolved around interactions with men, how ridiculous online dating was. I would, imitate, the things that I said, how their pictures were laid out. Like my entire routine was based around the ridiculousness of dating apps and how horribly they navigated them and made fun of that, obviously. And I remember the guy who was putting on the comedy shows was like, "Are you not trying to date ever again?" Or because you're beautiful, you're funny. However, your entire set just rips dudes to shreds. So are you not looking to get a date ever again? And I was like, well, I'm definitely not doing comedy to get a date for sure. And this is all very funny to me, honestly. And he's just like, okay, I was just wondering. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not doing stand up for a date. So That being said, I remember they wanted me to kind of change the 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 wear. Like women who were doing comedy kind of didn't dress like dressing. He was like, you've got to like not be yourself. I'm like, I'm gonna wear what I want to wear. I'm not doing. He's like, well, then you're not gonna get girls laughing at you, and the guys who are bringing girls are gonna be upset if they're laughing at you. And I'm like, this is such a weird. Like, I don't care about any of that. I'm gonna wear my high heels with my leggings and whatever top I want to wear. If I want to look sexy or beautiful or like a tomboy, I'm in that moment because hey, you can catch me on any given day, and it could be any of those things. My daughter's like, today you look like Justin Bieber. What's up with, your Bieber vibes lately? And I'm just like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm back hatting it and wearing, baggy pants. I don't care. I never dressed for anyone but myself. So I don't know. There's just all these rules that I just always wanted to break. And I feel like I did break them. But now I have a whole new, I'm still myself, but I have a whole new like take on my life because I had a meltdown and I had a supernatural encounter with God, and it totally changed the trajectory of my entire life in every way, shape, or form. So I've been navigating that, which has been totally different. So I'm still myself, but I'm better. I'm not as perverted. I definitely don't cuss as much. I just honestly didn't know that you could have a relationship with God and that you could pray and that he was somebody you could communicate with. And like, I've always believed there was one. I just didn't know. Nobody's trying to push Jesus in Hollywood. Let's just be real about that.
100%. I'm with you on that. Yep.
Yeah. Nobody's pushing Jesus. If anything, they're pushing the occult. And I did dabble, I did, but like, just to know that I could have prayed for my marriage or prayed for my addiction problems or prayed for anything. No, I did not know that was a possibility. And then I was telling your co-anchor over there that I had my identity stolen and was hacked, and somebody impersonated me in my verified accounts for 3 years and cleaned out every way I ever made money,
Ugh.
every stream of income as Bobbie Brown. And during COVID, and even collected my unemployment checks as me. So just cleaned me out. And I was at a bottom that I'd never been at before. And it happened in Louisiana with someone here. So meanwhile, I'm in California for 30 something years thinking I'd met every psycho you could possibly imagine, right? Every narcissist you could possibly encounter, every scenario in which you should be traumatized. I move here for COVID to Louisiana and get a stalker who tries to kill me with a loaded 38, steals my identity, puts a keylogger on my computer, and I don't even know I'm being hacked. I'm doing this interview for free for a magazine that didn't exist. This person does a walk through my condo as I'm getting treats, for this interview for a magazine that didn't exist. And in Louisiana and in my hometown where I'm very trusting, right? Especially I'm thinking like, who would hurt me here? This is my hometown. Exactly. Nice. And stole my identity for 3 years and every single dime I'd ever made as Bobbie Brown. And it took me, I had a moment, like I shaved my head. I had a moment where I was just spiraling and I couldn't access any of my accounts, any money, anything. I lost everything. Had to move in with my parents for the first time after, almost 40 years. It was deflating and just I was at the point where I was like, I don't care. I give up. Like I threw everything at it. Like every amount of money that I had left, any, FBI contact, every police department, every therapist, I'd done it all and nothing was moving. And I remember my mom telling me, you're not going to be able to be around your nephews if you don't pull it together because all I was doing was crying and breaking down and not having access to your own life in a way that it was just dehumanizing almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy. And I guess that's what it took. I don't know. And I feel like that's when God stepped in really. I went to EMDR therapy that's for post-traumatic stress disorder, severe PTSD. And I did an intensive for 5 hours and basically told the therapist everything I had never told anyone. Everything. You know, all the stuff, all the secrets, everything I swept under the rug, all the Me Too's, all the, you know, sex trafficking, like every single thing that had ever happened to me from a child till that moment, I told her. And I feel like that maybe broke like a wall that had like been festering around my heart for decades, you know, obviously. And I came home, I laid down and I closed my eyes and I had a supernatural encounter with Jesus Christ. Came into the room, didn't even know I was needed him, didn't know I could have a relation with him. I didn't know what was happening. I was scared. And all I heard was, "Do not be afraid, my child." And he took me on a journey for the next 8 hours of my entire life, showing me exactly where he was and how to pray and who he was to me, and that my identity was in him, not in Bobbie Brown, and that it couldn't be stolen, and that my life was going to change and have a new purpose. And that was amazing and also scary, but beautiful in a way that I don't think I could have. What I was going into a pit and never coming out at that point, you know? So that had to, I feel like that had to happen. I had to have like a death of self, sort of, to be able to come out of the other side of all of this trauma and everything I had experienced and with new purpose.
And you're better off not hanging around that whole comedy crowd, by the way. I did Second City and all of those things. And I graduated their grad review. I had a one-woman show prior to COVID and
Yeah.
post-COVID, but people that are in comedy clubs, you can't take them seriously because they're there because they probably don't have that many people that like them in real life. And not to be a bitch, but that's the truth. They're
No,
not that funny, and girls are going to get jealous of you. Every other female comic I've seen over the past 2 years, well, my uncle touched me. Bitch, no one touched you. Just like stop with the rape jokes already because it's really getting stale. Then you
yeah,
have guys with their penis jokes. I get it. You have a small dick. All right, we're good. So, next. And I hope it's something you go back to, and I really hope you meet someone. It's really tough
yeah,
out there. I
yeah.
don't suggest joining bond dating because you might meet Christian Bale in some version. Um
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, girl. Like I'm just aging. I don't really go out that much. I do agree with you with the comedy thing because I remember being backstage and being with some huge comedians and them just being so morose,
yeah,
like just so dark in a way that I was like, maybe I'm not screwed up enough to be doing comedy. Like,
it's them. They're
and
insecure.
I get it. Like it's just it is it didn't do for me what I thought it would do. I checked the box. I did it. I accomplished it. I succeeded at it. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. And I talked to other comedians. I'm like, so when you did it, they were like, oh yeah, I quit my job. It was all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to do it 11 times a night. It was everything I want. And I heard from another person and another person and another person, and they're all having that same story. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, I don't feel like that. I don't feel that way about it at all. I did it. I would do it again if someone wanted to pay me to do it again. It wouldn't be. It would be more about my family now for sure because I have some stories now that I've been back in Louisiana. It wouldn't be as perverted or as raunchy as I used to be for sure because that's changed in my demeanor a bit. But I would do it again if someone wanted to pay me to do it again. I would do it.
There's something there. I'm sorry. There is something there. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something there.
Okay, I'm going to trust you on that.
Yeah, you need to, because I'm always good at these things. Like if I hear something and
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's appealing to me. I know that fans and even my listeners would want to hear about these nightmare stories. What I do is when I start getting these ridiculous messages from guys, I just put them on blast on Instagram and
Right.
I tag them. Some of them are married, some of them are not married, but I
That's
prefer tagging the married ones. It's more fun that way. You go home wreck from whatever miles away from wherever they are.
not a lot of respect. I mean, you know what's funny is when I was being cheated on, people knew and nobody told me. And as soon as you break up, everybody comes out of the woodwork and goes, girl, look, this is what's been going on. And I'm like, I was that girl for everybody. If somebody was doing something, they did not want to bring that around me because I was calling them out. I'd be like, you don't want to be cheating on your wife in front of me because I will call her. I
Yeah.
will. And I would. And so I was, that was the thing for me. Like, I'm not covering for you. So you better not be doing stuff like that around me because I'll tell. Um, yeah. So I have respect for you for doing that. And it's just crazy that the things that people would think they can get away with.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I get the whole thing of mistresses and everything. Because,
Yeah.
I could say at one point I was probably the oldest mistress there was out there, but it didn't necessarily mean you're having sex with these married men. It's
Right.
everything else but that.
Right.
Then there was a guy who was working with me before at some other place a while, like a couple of years ago, that was married, but so miserable, but trying to hook up every time we work together. It's like, dude, you have to go home and deal with your problems, right? How's married life? So just go deal with these problems at home. Don't bring it here to try to have the best of both worlds. When
Right.
guys do stupid things, you always ask them, what happens when you eat your cake and have it too is you get fat and unhealthy.
Right. I remember I was with a guy friend of mine and we were having coffee where he asked me to pick him up because something, I forgot the details, but we are having a coffee. This car comes careening around the corner, slamming the brakes on Ventura Boulevard. This girl comes dashing towards us. And I'm like, uh-oh. She comes over and she's all like, what the hell? And she's freaking out. And I was like, whoa. And he tells her to get in the car and go home. And I go to take him home and I go, what did you do? It wasn't her. I was like, what have you done? What are you lying about? No girl acts like that. If you're not up to some shit, like no girl acts like that. Like what are you doing? And I'm like, I didn't even know he had a girlfriend, this guy, but we weren't hooking up or anything. He was just a friend. Honestly, I always friended guys who I didn't sleep with. Like I moved past that whole sleeping around thing in the 90s. I stopped doing that a long time ago, but I really never thought, like, as soon as he was going to be like, oh, she's just crazy. I'm like, oh, she not just crazy. Something's going on.
You're sketchy, bro.
Yeah.
Sure, 100%. They all say, "Oh, my crazy ex." Well, hang on a second. What
Yeah.
did you do to her?
Right.
Because when people act irrational, you should always ask yourself, why do they act that way, possibly?
Yeah.
Um, so you're in Louisiana these days, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope to run into you because you're so cool. And I know that we've crossed paths at one point at the Rainbow. I'm 100% sure of that. But we
Yeah.
just never actually hung out because you seem like a great person. And I'm very intrigued by this whole dating thing. It's new, it's going to be my obsession over the next week, like thinking of how this can go out there. There has to be something there. People do not understand the terrors of online dating
Right.
and getting the dick pics at like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah. It's gross.
It really is, guys. Like, we don't want to see that. So,
Yeah.
what do you have coming up?
So I just finished writing a third book
Okay.
and it's being edited at the publisher as we speak. I've been working on that for the last year with my daughter. She's the co-author,
Oh,
Lane, and starting to accept comedy shows again,
yay.
getting out there, doing appearances again, like hosting, doing appearances, and starting to do these Comic Cons, which I've never done before. And Bay is like, girl, you need to be doing those.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who cares? And he's like, people care. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try one. So I'm going to be doing Cajun Con on December 6th and 7th here. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know what that even looks like, but he's like, "Oh no, you need to be doing those. You can make money doing those." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll have to give it a shot." But really, I've been really focusing on the book, getting that finished. I finally got that done like last week, and
Mhm.
so hopefully, hopefully that book does amazing, and we'll see what the Lord has for me, girl, because I don't know. I have no idea. Every day is a new day. I'm like, well, I'm here for it. Whatever it is, bring it to me.
Just remember to light those white candles every day. And as soon as you get up, it's usually those same four things. And I got it off of a Snoopy meme like years ago. And I always forget it. But the thing is, the first thing I think of in the morning are protect me, God, guide me, God, forgive me, God, bless me, God. Those are the four things
That's amazing.
every morning. Yeah. And then it's the first thing I think of. And then obviously the 10 things that you're grateful for in your life. And then I start my day. And
Telling me.
real quick, what are your socials?
Yeah. So my IMDb is Bobbie Jean Brown. My Instagram and Threads now is at Brown Bobbie, and all other social media platforms is at Bobbie Jean Brown.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate you for joining me. God bless and sit tight.